Latitude 36 Foods, and they're able to show them what we do here locally.
So I would take the pledge, and I would encourage every other company to do so, because again, there's a lot of resources available with the city, and the city is a great resource and has been a great resource for Latitude 36 Foods.
So take the pledge today or contact us to learn more.
Good morning, everyone. We're here at City Park. We have our first 6th Street cleanup of 2024.
We had about 50 volunteers come clean up the city as well as paint the skate park. It came out really great.
It's good to help our community.
I encourage everyone to volunteer with us in the future.
Our next cleanup event is going to be for Arbor Day at City Hall on March 16th from 9 to 11 a.m. We'll see you there.
Most people look at Carbon Health and are like, well, what is Carbon Health? Carbon Health is the home of good health. We are here as an urgent care primarily. We have 3 providers that work in this clinic. We try to make sure that our teams are pretty fluid, so that way everybody can do everything. School physicals, work physicals, pre-employment physicals, workers' comp. If the employer needs a drug screen ahead of time, we do that as well. Vision.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Individuals wishing to address the Planning and Housing Commission are requested to complete a speaker card and deliver it to the secretary prior to the item being heard by the commission. Please observe a 3-minute limit for communications. Once called upon to speak, please state your name and city of residence for the record. For the minutes from August 11th, we'll look for approval. Ms. Sanchez, are there any speaker cards for the public, from the public tonight?
We have no speaker cards, Madam Chair.
Do we have a motion?
I motion for approval of these minutes.
In a second.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, we have Commissioner Sicklen making the motion and seconding by Mr. Woody. Please vote. All right, and that passes 3-0. Communications from the public. This portion of the agenda is intended for general public comments on items within the Commission's jurisdiction that are not listed elsewhere on the agenda. Please note that state law prohibits the Planning and Housing Commission from discussing or taking action on these items. Please observe a 3-minute limit for comments. Ms. Sanchez, any speaker cards on this?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. We have no items on the consent calendar. The public hearings are items that have been publicly advertised for review and consideration by the Planning and Housing Commission. The public hearing items this evening are 3 related applications, so staff is requested to present them together. The commission can ask questions regarding each item, take comments, and vote on items individually. 6.1 is AHDB 2024-0001, application for density bonus housing agreement for the development of 57-unit residential condominiums consisting of 3 affordable housing units located at 1717 Via del Rio in the R3 multiple family residential zone. 6.2 TTM 38934, application for a tentative tract map to create one lot on 2.82 acres for residential condominium purposes, and 4 lettered lots totaling 0.04 acres for the construction of water quality management facilities located at 1717 Via Del Rio within the R3 multiple family residential zone. And last, 6.3 CUP 2024-0003, application for a conditional use permit for the construction of 57 townhome condominium units on 2.87 acres located at 1717 Via Del Rio in the R3 multiple family residential zone. Applicant Luisa Folito, Meritage Homes of California, Inc. Brendan Daldy, the Associate Planner, will present these items together.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair Alexander, members of the Planning Commission. Brendan Daldy, Project Planner, and I'm pleased to present the item before you tonight for 3 applications. Starting off with conditional use permit 2024-0003, tentative tract map 38934, and affordable housing density bonus 2024-0001, located at 1717 Via Del Rio. Before you is tonight's request. First request is for a conditional use permit for the construction of 57 townhouse condominium units, including 3 units to be dedicated as affordable at the very low income threshold. In addition to that, we have the tentative tract map to create 1 lot measuring 2.82 acres and 4 lettered lots measuring 0.04 acres. And lastly, we have the affordable housing density bonus agreement for the management of the proposed affordable units. As always, I'd like to give the Planning Commission a brief background. Subject properties, 2.87 acres, zoned R3, has a general plan and land use designation of high-density residential, and that allows for a density of 15 to 36 dwelling units per acre. On the site right now is an existing church and will be demolished as part of the development. In addition to that, there's 2 existing telecommunication towers, and those will be proposed to remain in place. Next, we have the development site plan. Starting up at the top on the left is Building 3. That'll be a 10-plex fronting Via Del Rio. And then moving on into the interior of the site will be 3 additional buildings. That will be Building 4, 5, and 6, and those will be 9 plexes. And then moving to the southeast corner will be Buildings 1 and 2. Those are 10 plexes as well, fronting Avenida Del Vista. Each building will be 3 stories, approximately 37 feet tall. Project site will also include tandem garages for all the 2 and 3 bedroom units, and then a 2-car garage side by side on the 4-bedroom unit, totaling for 129 total parking spaces on site. 15 of those spaces will be uncovered, and those will be dedicated towards guest spaces. The remaining 114 will be dedicated to garage space. Moving on to the floor plans, we have 3 separate floor plans, 2 variations for the 2-bedroom one. These will be plans 2531 and 2531X. There will be 9 of each of these units, very minuscule difference in square footage here. So 1,300 square feet for the first one, and then 1,268 for the second one. There's no difference in the second and third floors of these units. It'll just be a slight small square footage difference on the first floor relating to storage and garage area. Again, these are 2-bedroom units, include a 75 square foot deck, and will include a tandem garage at a bare minimum of 9 by 40 foot dimension. Moving on to the larger unit, this will be the 3-bedroom unit. There will be a total of 21 of these units, 1,496 square feet. Will include a 75 square foot deck and a 37 square foot porch. In addition to that, it will have a tandem garage at 9 by 40 feet minimum as well. This will be the largest of the 3 products, Plan 1638. This will be a 4-bedroom unit. There will be 18 of these, and it'll be 1,765 square feet. In addition to that, it'll have a 110 square foot deck and porch, and will include a 2-car side-by-side garage at 20 by 20 feet minimum. On the top here, you'll see our product elevations. The front elevation here is the 10-plex product. This will be the largest product and most visible from both Via Del Rio and Avenida Del Vista. The project proposes traditional Spanish architectural style, including Spanish tile accents, concrete Spanish tile roofing, navy shutters, white stucco sand finish, and gridded vinyl windows throughout. On the bottom, you'll see the rear elevation as well. This is also the Tenplex product. This will be more visible from the interior of the site adjacent to those alleys. And again, it'll be 37 feet tall. Next, we have the proposed landscaping. Total landscaping will be comprised of 26,217 square feet and totaling 86 new trees. 27 of these trees will be fronting Via Del Rio and Avenida del Vista. That'll provide an additional buffer from the public right-of-way in these newly proposed buildings. In addition to that, we have a 17,793 square foot open space included in the project, and included in that open space area will be a tot lot and outdoor recreation area, barbecue, picnic, seating on the north interior portion of the lot. Next, we have our wall and fence plan. So I want to start off on the northeastern corner adjacent to the Coronita Elementary School. That'll include a small 3-foot retaining wall with wrought iron design on top. That'll be 6 feet from the finished grade to the top of this fence or wall. And then moving on to the northerly portion of the site adjacent to the existing high-density residential, it's a reddish or purplish looking color there. That'll be a 6-foot high block wall. These will be both gray in color and comprised of CMU block, slump block. And then on the interior of the lot, you'll see all of these blue patio walls. These are just going to be short 3-foot high pony walls. These will be white stucco finish and the same CMU block design. In addition to that, there are some other various proposals in here with the existing cell tower facilities. That's just a continuance of the wrought iron fencing that they have in place. They had to do a slight modification for the existing facility just due to the fact that they're going to include a lettered lot there for drainage purposes, and then they're going to modify the access through a various set of easements associated with the tentative track map. And with that, we have the tentative track map, 38934 again. It'll be comprised of one 2.82 acre numbered lot for condominium development purposes. And then in addition to that, we'll have 4 lettered lots for water quality management facilities totaling 0.04 acres. These will be 4 different lettered lots located essentially on each corner of the lot. It'll be one adjacent to the intersection of Avenida del Vista and Via Del Rio, and then one modular wetland system on the southwestern corner of the project site. And then on the northeastern corner of the project site, you'll see that other lot D there that's adjacent to the telecommunications facility. All of these will be subterranean. You won't see anything above grade. It'll be a bioretention basin as well, so properly landscaped. Wanted to give the Planning Commission just a brief reminder on state density bonus law. When affordable units are proposed, it allows for the granting of waivers and or concessions. In this case, they're proposing 5% of the development, or 3 units in this case, to very low income, and that entitles them to 1 concession. So those concessions are based, again, off the dedicated affordability of those units. In addition to that, there's a density bonus agreement required with the city, and that affordability restriction would be for a total of 45 years. As part of the project proposal, the applicant qualifies for 1 concession and requests 4 waivers from Corona Municipal Code Development Standards. So we'll start off with the 4 waivers requested. The first waiver is going to be the waiver of an indoor recreation facility. The second waiver will be a reduction of the minimum front yard setback. The third waiver will be a reduction of minimum street side yard setbacks. And then the 4th waiver is a reduction of the minimum building separation. And moving in the next slide, I'll get you a little bit more detail on how that looks. Their 1 concession that they're granted for was a concession from one of our municipal code requirements regarding the requirement of underground existing overhead utilities. Typically, those are associated with anything underneath 32 kV volts, sorry. And in addition to that, as part of the affordable component, they're allowed to use a different parking standard from our Corona Municipal Code, and that's stipulated within Government Code Section 915P1. The applicant provided justification illustrating concessions and waivers that are necessary to construct the affordable units. Sorry. Moving on, waivers. So we'll start again on the northwestern corner of the site. You'll see waiver number 2 there. That's going to be the most restrictive area, and that's where we're asking for that reduction, and the applicant's asking for this reduction. It's going to be a reduction from the front yard setback requirement of 20 feet down to 18 feet. Moving interior of the site, you'll see the waiver number 4 is the reduction from what the typical building separation requirement for a 3-story building is 25 feet. On the upper portion of the site in between buildings 4 and 5, it'll be reduced down to 18 feet, or proposed to be reduced down to 18 feet. And then on the lower portion in between buildings 4 and 6, it's proposed to be 22 feet of separation. And all the way at the very bottom, waiver number 3 is a request to reduce the street side yard setback, which is typically 15 feet, being requested to move down to 13 feet. On our next slide here, we have the proposed concession regarding the utility and overhead utilities. So this is kind of just a brief overview of what the applicant is proposing, and in regards to the concession as well, because there are some telecommunication lines off Via Del Rio that will be proposed to be underground. There are some telecommunication lines that run from Via Del Rio across the street over into Burn Lane, along with some other overhead electrical that's going to remain in place. And then every other electrical along Via Del Rio running all the way down to the east, that will remain in place as well. You'll see the green zigzags there off Avenida Del Vista. Those are a part of the street lights that are there currently. Those will be proposed to be underground. So not all of the overhead that you'll see today is going to remain. There will be some undergrounding, but not all. And I want to just make it clear that off of Via Del Rio, all of the overhead electrical components will remain above. And with that, we have staff's recommendation. Staff recommends the approval of this project as listed on your screen here below of our recommendations. These recommendations that the Planning Housing Commission recommend to the City Council that they find Affordable Housing Density Bonus 2024-0001 categorically exempt, and recommend approval of Affordable Housing Density Bonus 2024-0001. In addition to that, we ask that the Planning and Housing Commission recommend to the City Council approval of tentative tract map 38934. And lastly, staff recommends that the Planning and Housing Commission adopt resolution number 2670 granting CUP 2024-0003 based on the findings contained in the staff report and conditions of approval. Thank you for your time, and myself and the rest of the staff are available for any questions you may have. Additionally, I just want to give the Planning Commission just a heads up. The applicant also has a presentation that she will provide when she's called upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it okay if we go ahead and see the presentation?
Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Luisa Folletto. I'm with Meritage Homes. We're the applicant for this. Just want to say thank you to staff. They've been great to work with as we've worked through the entitlements on this project. Very responsive, very helpful working through some of the different constraints we had, and we're very excited to present this to you this evening. So a bit about Meritage. So we are a publicly traded home builder. We're the fifth largest based on homes closed as of 2024. We were founded in 1985, so we're celebrating our 40th year this year. We operate in 12 states across the U.S., 31 markets and growing, and we've built nearly 200,000 homes as a company. Our Southern California division specifically started in 2004. Currently, we have 14 actively selling communities, 11 that are approved and under construction, and 21 in various planning stages. Operationally, we focus on market rate homes, specifically for a first-time home buyer, first-time move-up buyer. Something Meritage prides ourselves on is some of the different green features we showcase in our homes. So this is kind of what the slide touches on. Two things that I do want to point out, though, are the spray foam insulation in our conditioned attics. So what that does is for our townhome product type, which is attached living, it actually really dampens the sound that might permeate between units. And as well as having our conditioned attics, it actually helps keep your whole home a lot cooler because there's nothing exposed to the outside. Meritage Homes was proud to be one of the first national home builders to have all of our homes Energy Star certified. We meet all Title 24 requirements, going above and beyond in some cases. Additionally, Meritage is, as I was saying, a proud recipient of some of the awards you see on screen. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is that we participate in Avid ratings. And this is a third-party service that builders large and small participate in, and it is a survey to new homeowners. And it's a 1-month survey and then a year-end survey. And our specific division here in Southern California has actually won the highest award through Avid for the last handful of years, and we're really, really proud of that. So I wanted to touch on something Meritage prides ourselves on, and that's really that missing middle housing. So for people who might not know, it bridges the gap between traditional single-family homes and then your mid-rise, high-rise apartments. And so whether that's doing duplexes, townhomes, a stacked flat, it allows you to increase the density, but it spreads your development costs over more homes. So we're able to keep our price point a little bit lower. We target that attainable rate, and it spreads it out across more homes. So really kind of works with our buyers. So a bit about the project. I know Brendan, I really appreciate the great presentation he did, so I just want to share a couple images. This would be a rendering down that central Paseo space. You can see some of the different activities going on in the background. So it'll have the shade structure, seating, barbecue counter areas, and then as it goes farther to building 4 that's at the end there, you get more of those active uses. This would be a view from Via del Rio, and the homes are elevated a little bit from the street view, but the landscaping and trees we think really help soften that impact. And I will leave it at that. My team and I are here to answer any questions you guys may have, and I look forward to speaking with you more.
Thank you for that presentation, and thank you, Mr. Dolly, for your presentation. Regarding AHDB 2025001, do my commissioners have any questions for staff?
I do. I'm going to try to keep the questions aligned to the 3 applications, but I'm not sure if I'm going to follow correctly in all those. Mr. Dolly, thanks for the information. First question, what is the minimum number of bonus density units that can be applied for the exemptions? Is it the 2 or 3 that?
Yes, Commissioner Sequeland, it varies based off of the percentage in which they're dedicated to, and it's tied to a percentage, not necessarily a total amount of units. In this particular case, they had proposed for a 5% at the very low income threshold. For example, to be entitled to 1 concession, if they were to go to the low income, it would be 10% of the whole development. If they were to go to moderate, it would be 10% as well. And then if they wanted to propose for 2 concessions, they would have to double up their very low income threshold categories and so on and so forth. It kind of just increases based off of percentage.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen that chart, so I just can't remember. The utilities, it was kind of interesting to see the utility slide. And could you explain maybe why portions of the utilities are moving underground? Beyond, is it just a cost issue? But what's the rationale on some moving to the underground, some not? You can maybe give them some more detail on that.
Yeah, if we could get the overhead utility slide back up, please. Just in the interim, the concessions are specifically tied to a identifiable cost reduction. That's what the concession stems from. So in this particular case, our typical municipal code requirement will result in 32,000 volts to be underground. Anything under that would need to be underground. In this case here, if you see on the blue line and the red line, the blue line's tied to telecom, so we'll just focus on the red and yellow. Let me see. Sorry. Hmm. 34. Okay. Okay, so the red line is the existing overhead SCE lines that will be remaining there along Via Del Rio, and you'll see that running all the way from east to west. You'll also see a red line perpendicular to that running across Via Del Rio. That will be proposed to remain as well. The existing overhead telecom lines that will remain is further down east of Via Del Rio up to the perpendicular line there. Those will remain running across Via Del Rio. And then the blue line there is the telecom, overhead telecom lines that will be proposed to be underground. And just to further clarify, it's anything under 34,000.
The reason I ask that, I think this is the first time that we've seen a utility concession tied to density. And is that something that is new, or is this just the first time that we've had an applicant request this?
This is the first concession that the city's seen, and this is the first time in which it's been requested.
Okay. So it's so the utility concession is part of a table of allowable concessions, and it's just that this is the first time we've weighed in on something like that. And I guess the city too then?
Yeah, that is correct, Commissioner. Anything in that, if they meet those affordability thresholds based on that percentage and they're entitled to a concession, anything in which it would result in identifiable cost reduction, that would qualify as a concession. So not particularly related to just utilities. In this particular case, the developer had the impression that this was going to be their identifiable cost reduction. It could be anything in which it would result in them not being able to obtain those affordable unit construction due to costs.
Right. So in this case, normally, if this was not a density bonus arrangement, this project would require the utilities to move underground. Would that normally?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And on that, I had a question on that same thing. As you drive down Via Del Rio past this project site and you go past the school, all of those lines continue all the way through county. And does that play a part in it? Meaning they're all above ground, east to west, as you're driving in the area, or does that not matter?
Yes, Chair Alexander. So the municipal code requirement is regarding the development itself, and if there's any increase in square footage that would potentially trigger that requirement. Anything that's leading into the county or beyond that would be outside of the project's immediate responsibility. So whatever's remaining overhead out in that area, they wouldn't be conditioned to or required to if this was just a regular market rate development to underground.
Correct, but just thinking that that's the standard going down Via Del Rio in front of the school too. They're all above ground, so just this intersection, this project site, it made sense to me that those would stay above ground. That's my comment.
If I can just add a little bit, because the commission does not normally see requests for waivers of overhead utility lines. Those are generally directly taken to City Council. And we have done waivers for other projects, if it makes sense. And your example is spot on. The goal is always to get the overhead lines underground, but sometimes it doesn't work because you do have lines that will continue beyond the project. So it makes the waiver more palatable versus when you have other improvements where they've been undergrounding over time, and to leave remnant areas up, it's a little bit harder to justify. So in this case, it was evaluated, But just looking at the overall connection contiguous, this was a palatable concession for us to make. But I want you to know, like, we do have waivers that come forward off and on, but it's just normally not seen by this body.
So in this case, looking at it, the portion that is in front of the school would not be without this waiver. It would go below and the new development come right back up where it was.
That's
in front of the
correct. And then
school.
you would have to tie into a pole. So you have to find the right connection because if you have a pole that is offset, maybe between the project site where one comes down and then it's off-site, you can't necessarily go off-site to continue the underground. So you're putting up that pole to keep that connection to the next one.
Sure.
Can I ask for a little more clarification from Ms. Coletta? What determines whether a waiver like this for a utility issue comes to the commission or goes directly to city council?
Most of them go directly to city council because they're governed by Title 15 of the CMC, which is not reviewed by this body. But because you are reviewing a planning project under Title 17, this was included as part of that. So this is why it came before this board.
So those are, when they go to the council, those are not necessarily for new projects that are being built?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
I had another question. If you possibly could pull up the landscaping plan that shows the walls and fencing, please. Yeah, actually, go back one. That would even be better. Right there, yeah, great. So at the top, the northeast corner, so the portion of the applicant site that abuts the school, if I'm correct, Cornita, that wall is a low wall with a metal open fence at top, and I'm just curious as to why, if a housing area is abutting a school, why that would be the choice to have that wall there, when the other abutting wall, which is in kind of the cayenne color, is a solid block wall. Was that direction from the city to leave that a low wall abutting the school, or is that the applicant that chose that? Just curious on the thought process.
And just to add that, I did see that the CNUSD approved it, whatever was presented to them, for some reason, versus a solid wall.
Or is that potentially a code item that maybe drove that type of wall?
Yeah, Commissioner Sequilin and Chair Alexander, just to further answer your question here. So they designed a low retaining wall with a wrought iron fence design. They didn't want to close it up, so there's a little bit of a gap in between where the existing school wall is with their fence on top and where this proposed wall is. So there's a maintenance situation that had occurred with the Corona Norco district. And if I could request for past the thank you slide, just for that one slide at the very end, I'd like to kind of just weigh in a little bit more on that. There we go. So this would be a cross-section or a view from Villa Del Rio looking into their existing design currently. So on the left, you'll see an engineered cross-section. That'll kind of show where their their influence lines from a structural perspective. But there's about a 7-foot gap in between these two. And so what had originally happened is the school had built a retaining wall with their fencing on top of it, not directly on line with the property. And so placing the wall there, I know this doesn't have any particular difference in the overall height of the wall or anything, but this is just the 3-foot retaining wall that they had designed with the wrought iron design on top so that they can get in there and maintain the landscaping accordingly. And this was what we had initially discussed with the applicant is who's going to take care of the maintenance of this. And so that'll be taken over by the HOA, and they had coordinated with Corona Norco to maintain their school's portion of the property as well. And so that's where these two retaining walls, 7-foot gap and gate come into play.
Right, yeah, that's helpful. I don't either went by so fast I didn't see it, but if you had a solid wall, you would almost have an alley effect.
Correct.
Created in-
Lack of
in there.
visibility, there would be concerns from the school side as well.
Right, okay, thank you. That makes sense to me.
Could you
Passed.
add on to that regarding fencing? When you showed the solid red line or pink or whatever it was for adjacent to the Corona Park apartment complex next door, do they also have a cinder block wall? Or what is the perimeter fencing for that community?
Currently, it's just a chain link fencing back there, but on the Villa Del Rio side of the property, it'll be a revamped block wall. There's an existing block wall there now, but it's a little bit shorter. But there will be a revamped 6-foot-high CMU slump block wall that will be there.
On the north side of the project site,
Correct.
butted up against the other properties?
That is correct, yes,
Wow.
to the high-density residential property that's existing.
But without any space in between?
No, there won't be any. It'll be right up on the property line.
Thank you. Any questions further on the AHDB 2024 for staff?
I do have one other staff, sorry. I think we asked this, or at least I always ask this, regarding parking. Could you remind me what the policy is on ensuring that parking occurs in the garages?
Sure. So I don't remember specifically which one it is, but within the conditions of approval, we did require that the CCNRs include language that frees up at a bare minimum a 9 by 40 foot dimension dedicated to just those cars. So it doesn't get used for storage or any other, uses that wouldn't include storage of motor vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I had questions regarding the R3 zoning. It's currently, was it always R3? Is church just a use under R3? Is that correct?
Yes, I believe churches are allowed in all residentially zoned areas, whether with the approval of a CUP or a minor CUP of some sort, but it is R3 zoned. It's always been R3 zoned for quite some time, at least to my knowledge. This isn't a change in land use or allowable density. In fact, this development here is proposing 19.86 dwelling units per acre. It's allowed up to 36, but there is no change in zoning on this one, and churches are always allowed there.
Thank you. And regarding the 57 units, 54 are above moderate income, the 3 are very low income. It just seems to me they couldn't be further apart. Is that just an applicant's decision as far as what the income levels would be qualifying for?
Yes, that would be at the developer or the applicant's decision. I don't know exactly. Maybe when the applicant comes back up to speak if needed, then she can further clarify on that. But to my understanding, it's just the developer's election.
Okay, and regarding the very low income, the category itself, I think I read somewhere, is 31 to 50% AMI, correct? And is that also a developer's discretion? Right, that's tied into the very low to go up to the 50% AMI versus anything lower towards the 31 threshold?
Yeah, so the 30 to 50% of the adjusted median incomes, actually the income limits are by the Housing Department of Community and Development based off of the Riverside County area. So I think that 30 to 50% window at the very low income threshold, it kind of varies by county, and that's just their typical window.
I think I read somewhere for the density bonus, and maybe if you could correct me, is that when they apply for that, there is one concession but unlimited waivers? How does that work?
That is correct, yes. So it's not necessarily tied to, in this particular case, because they dedicated 5% of their units at the very low income threshold, they're allowed to have one concession. For example, if they wanted to increase their concessions up to 2 concessions allowed, they would have to increase their very low income threshold to 10% of those total units. And then if they wanted to get 3 concessions, it would be the very low income threshold of 15%. And so it kind of just increases there. But to further answer your question, yes, a qualifying affordable housing development is entitled to unlimited waivers if they can prove that it would physically preclude them from obtaining their desired density or affordable units. The concessions are a little bit different because it's tied to budgetary reasons. A cost reduction, identifiable cost reduction is what the concession should be tied to.
Okay, thank you. And I know that you were explaining that to the commissioner before. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together there. I guess, was this the section where we were talking about the conditions for them, for the 3 affordable units? Is this the section, or is that tied into one or the other, the TTM, or this is it, right? So I see that in the, it talks about the 3 units that the city has a right of refusal to be offered. Is that, if someone buys one of the affordable units and then they sell it, that at that point, that first buyer gets to notify the city and they have right of refusal to purchase it, or how does that work?
The way that we set it up is the city has a first right of refusal at the end of the term. So while that affordable housing density bonus agreement is in effect, they have to sell it to another very low income household.
So at the end of the 45 years.
Then we can acquire it,
I see.
add it to our housing stock if we want, or whatnot, whatever is going on at that time. But during that 45 years that the agreement is in place, the owner has to sell it to another, and we have, standards and requirements that will be on title, so the owner will know kind of what they have to do for that.
Okay, so the annual reporting for the owners, once they qualify, so at their 1-year mark, that's where they have to prove the documents that they've qualified?
Every year, so once you sell the house to a qualifying household, we're not going to insist that they remain very low income, right? They've bought a house, they get to continue living in it. But if they go to sell it, they have to sell it to another very low income. The annual reporting is to also make sure that they're living in the house, or if they have rented the house out, that they also rented it to a very low income. So again, the idea being we want to make sure it's always being occupied by a very low income household.
So the seller who's going to rent out their unit, let's say, it's up to them to ensure that they qualify under the right provisions that they originally qualified under.
That's correct.
And it's not at the point of renting it out, it's at their annual report to do diligence to provide those documents.
Actually, so the way that we have set it up, even just renting it would be considered a transfer, and so they would have to come to the city and prove up that the tenant that they're going to be. So we've tried to put some measures in there that our housing department will be a little bit involved in this anytime it's rented or sold.
And it's just the 3 units of the 57?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then I guess I'll piggyback on that with the right of first refusal. So that's at the end of the 45 years. And then can you explain how that works? Is that a case where when the term is up, the city has a right to purchase those properties if they want? And if the city does not act, then the homeowners at that time can do whatever they see fit.
Yes, that's exactly. So there's a time frame established in the covenant that's recorded against the property that before they transfer it at the end of the term, they have to give the city, and I believe it's 60 days, to consider whether the city wants to acquire the unit. And if not, then they're free to, the affordable restrictions would no longer apply to that unit.
Is that triggered then only if the owner wants to sell after the 45 years, or is that does it get reviewed by the city at that time? Is my question clear?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Are you asking if the city would always consider that? They would come to us, and then it would, whether it's, Joanne's department or housing, would then present that to the council and say, is this something that you want, to acquire?
But I guess I'm just trying to nail down the mechanics of it. Is it triggered at the 45-year mark where the city then either acts or doesn't act, or is it only after the 45-year mark based on what the owner does?
Only if there's an intent to sell the property. So if you have the owner that has no intent to sell the property, then they don't need to be coming to us asking for first right of refusal. So it is based on an action.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was trying to get.
I think I have a question about the parking. That's probably my only stickler here, is the parking. And how many of the units were 4-bedroom versus 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom?
Chair Alexander, I believe 18 units were dedicated towards the 4-unit plan.
And 21 for the 3-bedroom, I think it was. So basically, almost 40% of the complex are going to be 3- and 4-bedroom. And yet the 4-bedroom are the only one with 4 parking spaces in the garage. Is that correct?
Chair Alexander, the 4 bedrooms will include a 2-car garage, and it's just a side-by-side 2-car garage versus a tandem. So it'll be a 20 by 20 foot dimension of just 2 vehicles.
I thought I saw a diagram with 4 vehicles in a garage.
That's the 2-bedroom plan. Sorry if I didn't make that clear for you. The 2-bedroom plan includes tandem garages that are side by side to each other. If we could get that slide back up, it'll be Plan 2531 and 2531X. There we go. So the first floor plan, what you're seeing right now is 2 units. So 2531 and 2531X are going to be on the first floor. They're tandem garages that are side by side to each other, and then the second and third are kind of adjacent to each other.
And that's the difference in the square footage, is that
correct?
Like little hallway or the
Exactly.
bottom part there.
Yes.
So basically, of the 57 units, and you double it, right, for 104 parking, which is what they're going for, except for the increasing it to 125 or 127. I don't know. There were several annotations on the exhibits that varied between 125 and 127. So I just don't know. You only have 13 open parking spots. Where are the other cars going to go? Considering a 3- and a 4-bedroom, just surveying the apartment complexes, got 3 bedrooms typically. One complex did a survey recently and just closed. They have 268 apartments, and their 3 and their 4 bedrooms have, the average was 4 cars for 3 and 4 bedrooms. So my question is, it's going to spill over onto the streets. So Avenida Del Vista this morning had about 120 cars, both sides of the street, right? There isn't any parking on Via Del Rio next to the school because of the pickup and drop-off policy. Across the street on the south side of Via Del Rio is half of the street says no parking from here to the intersection. And then you have the Sapphire and Aquamarine residences on the east side of the street. And if you go driving down there, it's bumper to bumper. If there isn't a driveway or a fire hydrant, there is no parking for them, let alone. So the Corona Park Apartments, they know they have a problem with overflow. But when you drive Avenida Del Vista, It's already full, all the way down to the church parking lot. So, the church property, rather. And then the lane narrows down to one driveway. So again, my question is, where are all those extra cars going to go?
Yes, Chair Alexander. So this project, it's an affordable development project. And so their election by automatically, they can utilize a lower ratio. And so we worked with the applicant to get as many spaces as we could on site. Originally, there was a number of different spaces that were provided, and we were able to get an additional 2 on site on the northwestern corner to total up to 15. Each one does require a 2-car garage or 2 spaces per se. 1.5 spaces for the 2 and 3 bedrooms, and 2.5 spaces is required for anything that's 4 bedrooms or more. In addition to that, in terms of where they're parking, you're correct. Avenida del Vista on the south side there. On the east side, they can park there. And the red curbing off of Via Del Rio will remain as well. The applicant, the developer is proposing 129 total spaces. If they were to go to what the affordable unit development minimums are, the government code allows for 104. So and per our municipal code, we'd require 164 spaces. In our discussion with the applicant, if they were to provide those 164 spaces on site, it would have resulted in them losing a significant amount of units, which wouldn't, necessarily pencil out for them to develop the project as a whole. So they kind of met in the middle in terms of getting to 129, but in terms of parking, that's the furthest.
I appreciate your explanation, and I know staff worked with them to find the compromise. This is the problem I have with density bonus, which is state imposed. Any other comments?
I was interested in hearing a little more about the affordable housing, with that very low income level, once these are completed, what that actually looks like for somebody purchasing these units. So that might be something we would hear from the applicant on.
Sure. But right now, as far as staff questions, I think we're done.
I'm sorry, one other question came to mind, Mr. Dalday. Looks like this initial application was in early 2024, based on the dates. Did the application for this process immediately come with a density bonus request? Or was that something that?
Yes, Commissioner Segulin, to the furthest of my knowledge, and I apologize, I don't have the historic knowledge on this one. There was 2 separate DPRs that had came in. The first one initially, I don't believe had the density bonus stipulations in there. The second go around and the second DPR that's probably referenced in the 2024 one did. So from the beginning, it was known that it was going to be a density bonus project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for
No
staff?
further.
Okay, great. All right, Ms. Sanchez, did we receive any speaker cards or written comments from the public for this item?
We did not, Madam Chair.
Okay. Public hearing is open. If you wanted to speak, now's your chance. Yes? No? Great. Did you fill out your card? Well, you'll need to come up to the microphone. All right. I can hear you if you want to continue. Oh, you need to be recorded, which means you need to speak into a microphone. Do we have a portable mic that maybe we could bring to her? Go ahead, sir.
I live at 1686 Verrill Lane, so I'm very close to this project. As the council member said, parking is horrendous in my entire neighborhood. And a lot of it's because of the overflow parking from the apartments next door. As she said, there's literally no parking on Avenida del Vista every day. What happens Thursday? Street sweeper day. No parking till 5 p.m. Where do you think they go? My neighborhood. So it's a challenge. And I've lived there since 1992. So I've seen the demographics in the neighborhood has changed. I've seen a lot. And there's a lot of multiple families living in a house, multiple cars. If you drive Sapphire Lane, which is the one parallel to Avenida del Vista, Barrel Lane is actually perpendicular, comes right off. I'm second house from that Avenida del Vista. Those people overflow onto Barrel Lane as it is because there is no parking. You're going to find that there's 4 cars to every house minimum. And if the garage door is open, you just see a 5th. Because I've driven it, I've looked at it, not only because of this, but why do I have this problem all the time? So parking mitigation is a problem. And I guarantee you 57 condos isn't going to help it. It's going to really put a real problem in what we have. So that's it. I've driven it, so I studied it, I looked at it. It's not good. It's not good now. It's not good now. So, and I kind of fit the demographic. I have 2 daughters living with me, so we have 4 cars. I got 2 in the driveway. Hopefully I can get 2 in the street. So it's a problem. I appreciate the chance to speak, but it's pretty much my real concern about this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, did you want to speak?
Very much.
You're so welcome.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Clayton. I live on 851 Via Felipe, right next to that empty space. As it is, I take my kids to school, my grandkids to school, and for me just to get out to 6th Street takes me 15 minutes. So they've got to be at school at 7:30. So I have to leave at 6 because of all the traffic that is already there. And now to put these houses in this empty space is ridiculous. How many people of you live close to that area? Probably none of you. Because you're in the hierarchy. We're just the peons trying to live, trying to survive. I'm a widow. My husband's been gone for 11 years. I'm lucky that I still have my house. And to try to fight this traffic is just ridiculous. Why can't we do something else with it? Why do we have to do anything with it? Because everybody wants more money? Is that what the thing is? Is this all about money? I can guarantee you it is. It's all about getting money to the city of Corona. And what does the city of Corona do for us? What do they do? Can any of you answer that? What's something positive that you have done for us? So nobody's going to say anything.
Well, this is your chance to do your
Well,
comments.
I'm asking you a question.
Well, it's not a question and answer type of format. You have 3 minutes to
Oh
make
my
your comment.
gosh, you guys are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, 3 minutes. I mean, I could sit here for hours and tell you everything that's gone wrong. I've lived here in that house for 54 friggin' years. 54 years. And it's gone from simple life to chaotic, to people just roaming the streets, making sure that you pull everything in your house before it's gone the next day, making sure that you have locks on your gates, making sure you have locks on your windows, making sure that you've got double locks on the front door. So, it's not something that I agree with, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. We all live in our own communities, but obviously some communities are better off than ours. And I oppose this 1,000,000,000%.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? You just step on forward is fine.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Extremely nervous, excuse me. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, my name's Ernest Edward Gomez, and I live immediately across the street there, right on the corner of Kirkwood and Villa del Rio, right in front of the school, Coronado Elementary. So some of the red flags for me are, first of all, the safety condition. You know, I'm concerned about safety. We recently had the pedestrian lights go up where we could cross, and I want to thank the city very much for putting those up. But I was a strong advocate to get those up there, and I'm glad to see that something did happen, especially the speed limit there, the speed limit sign as you approach, as you're going east to west. So that was placed there just via Bernardo, just below that a little bit. So I appreciate you putting up that, speed limit and watch for kids 25 miles an hour, because that wasn't there. The other thing was, and I'm very glad that you mentioned the parking, I do agree, and along with all the parking comes all the trash. So I know that we want to keep our city beautiful, but sometimes we just holding folks that are parking their cars, or at least all the debris that's left, that does become an issue. We do walk the street up and down, even Villa del Rio. And so that is a contentious issue, all the trash that's left behind. The other thing, too, that I wanted to point out here, this is on the project conditions, City of Corona. You have on item 38, it says prior to recordation of final map, developer will pay for a fair share of cost. It says cost of the County of Riverside Transportation Department of the F-site improvements as defined in the traffic impact analysis, and they'll include a new traffic signals at Villa del Rio and Paseo Grande. So, I was just curious to know a little bit more about that, if they are going to be putting traffic lights up in that location. And let's see. I think that was about it, basically. But primarily, it's the safety for the kids, just getting them to school there. And I was just hoping that we would have some controls where we could at least regulate and control traffic through there. And you're right, the ratio of units to the parking spaces, we will definitely have that overflow of parking in our community. So thank you very much. I knew I had more, but I just was really nervous here. But thank you.
You did fine. Thank you. Someone else want to speak? Come on out.
Yes, hi, and good afternoon. Beatriz Ayala, 1140 Sapphire Lane. My house is on Avenida del Vista. My biggest concern is privacy, because we have a pool. So I saw the plan that there was going to be a 3-floor. And you know what I mean? Like, for me, that's my privacy. I don't feel comfortable with a plan that's 3 stories. I have kids. They go in the pool. Obviously, I have daughters. And of course, I agree with the parking. Excuse me. There is definitely, that's the neighbor, and he's right. We're on Sapphire, and we overflow pretty much the street of Beverly, I'm sorry. So that is definitely my biggest concern. And if it's a 57 plans that they're trying to make our condominiums. So that's what I really wanted to touch on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. So, in your defense, I've been in this room plenty of times, and I've seen plenty of things that you guys have done for the residents. I understand her frustration about a lot of things. These projects that kind of bootstrap, low income, affordable, or whatever, clearly not looking in the public interest, they're looking in their own interest. That said, this could be what they could have done the same. They could have played the same game that Taylor and Citron did. So looking at that, it's nowhere near as bad as it could have been. But you got to really feel for the people in the neighborhoods around this. I'm over there quite a bit as part of my little side hustle that I do once a week. I'm over there all the time, and even trying to find a place to pull over to snag signs, it's very tough, even to find a space. So it's packed over there during the day. I can't imagine what it's like in the evening, because I'm over there usually in the mornings. You know, you kind of wonder if there might be some kind of a permit scheme for the neighborhoods or something to reserve parking over there. You know, there's got to be something, because you know it's going to spill over. You know, just it's going to be pretty impacted. You know, and you know, it's a shame. It does really have to come down to, you know, what they say will pencil and what they say won't pencil. You know, that the parking that they could have had or would have had, because they've got these, you know, 3 units that, you know, really probably something else probably could have been worked out, but they don't have to, so they're not. And, you know, to the previous speaker's point, you know, you guys aren't building it, somebody else is applying, and they've got certain rights under the law, and you guys got to play the ball where it lies, and you only have certain limitations that you can work within. So thank you very much for your hard work. And if there's something, you know, that maybe the applicant could possibly help defer some of the costs or some of the drama for the neighborhood by maybe helping establish some type of a permit thing, you know, some kind of a, you know, so they can have at least some control of what's going on in their neighborhoods. Because, man, you know, what I don't want is a repeat of what happened over on, is that Colette, where that really big apartment complex went in behind Home Depot, and it's pretty underparked. So they're spilling off into the neighborhood. People can't get their mail because their mailboxes are blocked off. We heard plenty about it in a council meeting a couple times. So, you know, we don't need that situation happening all over again, because that's kind of what I see going on here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak?
I have one more question. Can I do that?
I think you had 3 minutes.
My concern about using this facility that you're using, when it rains, you know that whole center floods, right? It floods. The rain is backed up. You can't go in there. There's puddles. It's not even a puddle. It's a river. So are we just talking about putting houses along the edges, or are we talking about filling the whole damn place up? Oh, sorry. Filling the whole place up.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, no other cards. No one else wants to speak. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the dais. Oh, yeah, if we have questions for the applicant, could you come up, please? Sorry about that. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Filetto. Can you explain a little bit how the marketing, not specifically like the methods, but you know, the when these are sold to low income units, low income houses or households, I should say, you know, what that will look like, I guess, versus compared to the market rate?
Sure. So Meritage partners with a third-party consultant, BCC DC. They're a affordable partner of ours who has the experience of finding and placing affordable qualifying households. So we'll partner with them. We'll put together the marketing program, which will include potentially mailers, if there's anything on the city's website that we can post to, you know, if there's newspaper ads or anything like that, we'll advertise these units. They'll typically host like a FAQ kind of night to talk through what the process is, since obviously there's a lot of different qualifying requirements to apply for one of these homes and walk people through what documentation is needed and all of that. From there, we'll work with the city to determine exactly the process, whether it is a lot, let's say, you know, we only have 3 homes that are designated at the very low. So if we get 10 applications, you know, is it a lottery system? Is it first come, first serve of who meets the requirements, gets it? We'll work with the city to determine which strategy to move forward with. The DBA does specify prioritizing existing Corona residents and I believe people who work in the city. So those will obviously have the first priority. So we'll work with them for finding the initial home buyers. And then, as the city attorney stated, if they choose to sell the home while it's still under the deed restriction, they'll have to find another qualifying household.
And then, so I guess what I'm trying to get a little closer to understanding is, you know, I think the way I understand the project, there's 3 units that are for the very low income households.
Correct.
And it's one of each of the 3 floor plans, basically. And then the rest of those will be sold to, well, I guess there's no income requirements. They're, you know, market rate, but according to the, you know, the designation in the AHDB, they're considered above moderate, I guess.
Correct.
So, but those are market rate. So I guess I'm wondering what, you know, based on current valuations, what is a market rate versus a non-market rate for these units?
Sure. So the price point of the affordable would be set in conjunction with the city. And so the way that it works is, I believe almost quarterly, rates come out in different things and it can get adjusted. The price point can fluctuate because the way that the affordable home price is set is it takes into account what your HOA payment would be, like your HOA dues, your insurance, all of that, to cap it at essentially 30 to 35% of what your income is. So the price point comes down to what that rate is, where the formula with all the different factors maths out, essentially. Meritage has no say in what those homes get priced at. Our market rate homes right now, if they were coming out today, would probably be starting in the low 6s and then going up, but obviously that would be in today's market conditions.
So that would be more for the 2-bedroom would be that price point you're saying?
Yeah, so the 2-bedroom would probably be starting in the low 6s. I have them ranging from the low 6s up into the low to mid 7s for the 4-bedroom unit right now.
All right. And then, yeah, maybe staff would be able to explain a little more, the city attorney, about how those price, if anybody knows about how the pricing with that 30% income works.
It's a statutory process for determining, but she had indicated correctly, it's based upon the household and the income, and there can only be a certain percentage that they can devote towards the housing cost. So it will be a very individualized assessment based upon the statutory guidelines.
And so one of the other factors would probably also be whatever the bank interest rate is at that time, because higher interest would bump up the share of that.
I believe so. Again, I don't do that part of it, but it is very clearly articulated in the statute. So there is a process. We won't be just making it up as we go along. It will be set forth.
Yeah, I know we talked about a lot of this when we first had to put in language, I guess, for the density bonus. Is that right, Ms. Coletta? Did we have to adopt like changes to the municipal code for that? Right. But that's been a little while, so trying to bring it all back.
Okay, thank you. Did you have another question?
Yes, Ms. Flato, a question. I kind of want to just characterize your presentation that you did earlier about going after that middle market of homes. And I'm reading through your letter to the city that was provided with the application. My understanding, it looks like you're in a potential contract with the landholder.
Correct.
contingent
Yeah,
upon-
we're in escrow to purchase the property, but we have not closed on it.
Sure, and is that contingent upon approval of these applications?
Yes, that
by the
is
city?
typically how we negotiate it.
Sure. Would you have even pursued this parcel if the density bonus agreement vehicle existed?
Yeah, so originally we did not actually have anticipating using the density bonus waivers and concessions when we first approached the site. As we worked through with staff on different things, there were a couple items that came up where for us to make the project work, we had to push on some of the setbacks and different things like that. So one of the triggering things that guided us in that direction was we first explored whether or not we could do a master meter for water services on this site. And it's not allowed for sale individual units. And so we had to do individual metering. And to get the space required for the water meters on the site, we needed deeper aprons. And to get deeper aprons, we needed to push into the setbacks. And so it was kind of a trickle down of how we ended up incorporating affordable units to get the flexibility on some of the development standards.
And do you know initially, from a parking ratio standpoint, were you always having difficulty with achieving a parking count?
No, so when we were first approaching the project and first exploring it, we were trying to meet parking by code. But as we flexed on the site and had these different constraints, that's where it led us to needing to go with the density bonus regulation parkings.
So is there one item that was a part of the concessions that was absolutely necessary, or do they all collectively add up?
It was, I think, more when we realized some of the constraints we had, the only solution was either going at risk, needing variances, and putting those up in terms of having it be more of a discretionary discussion versus utilizing the state's density bonus law pathway.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything? Thank you very much. Appreciate your answers. All right, with that, the public hearing is now closed. And if my colleagues have any other questions or comments.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked quite a bit about the parking situation, and this commission has worked hard, I guess, to do our best to make sure there's adequate parking for new developments. But obviously, yes, this with the density housing bonus, that's a way that we can't necessarily get it the way we want it. And I think we came across this also with the Second Street project, which you were not part of the discussion, but that was one of the issues that came up in that that project as well, and we did talk about it a little bit during our discussion, but I think it's better than it could be, sort of as one of the commenters said, but not necessarily as good as we would want.
Thank you. Mr. Stickler?
Yeah, I would just add in, it's so hard to get away from parking, but the reality is it's been removed from our hands. So then you have to evaluate, has everything been done to alleviate that as much as possible in other ways, right? So are the garages being used for parking? I guess the only question I have, and I don't know if it's a function that the city goes through, but the reality is that there will be people parking on city streets, and that really isn't a requirement to have a parking analysis to do that, correct? Anymore? That's eliminated from our kit of tools to ask. I will say, we do have a lot of applications that come before us to varying degrees of completeness and communication from the applicant themselves. And this certainly appears like both the city and the applicant have worked closely to try to solve everything they can. I think it's creative that this is the first time the utilities concession has come before us. And frankly, I don't know enough about it to have an opinion on it. I would trust that the city has evaluated that. And since this is the first time that, according to what was stated, that all of these concessions from a utility standpoint have been with an application, I guess what I'm saying is I'm sure that staff has done everything possible, but it's interesting that we're being asked to deal with utility concessions along with now parking and other things, and understanding that that's part of the new laws that we have to deal with.
And I wanted to go on one more point relating to the parking. Again, an idea that one of the commenters brought up, and I don't know if this is even feasible if the city allows it, but if a neighborhood is having traffic or parking impacts from other neighborhoods, I mean, is there a permit system available, for a neighborhood to try to implement?
So we do have Rosie here this evening, and she's all too familiar with that question, so we'll go ahead and let her have her answer that.
Hi. So if you guys recall, I don't know if I've touched upon this before, but we do have about 7 or 8 zones in the city. They're all really related to the high schools. One, I think it's Susan B. Anthony, is by an elementary, and the other one is by the Skyline Trails. And it is something I brought to council, and it is approved by them. And then after that, it's called a district. That district is established. Then after that, the residents can petition to have their street be a zone, and then that's when it will become a permit parking, street.
Does that have to be 100% participation?
It's a majority. I think 67%.
Is
But
there,
it first has to go to council to be a district before it can be a zone.
is that required a minimum number of streets or homes?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And what's the process where you said it has to go to the council first?
The last time I brought it, I've only brought it once, and it was when we established the downtown district, and it was brought to us as a request from management to establish a downtown district as we were developing the downtown area. The other ones have been the schools, but it's something I can definitely talk to my public works director and see if that's something they would like to entertain and bring. But it does have to be I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, I mean, in a situation like this where, maybe the residents nearby are worried about what's going to happen and want to explore that, that would be different than city management proposing it. I mean, would residents, not that I want to get their council member inundated with, calls or whatever, but is that the best, way for them to talk to either city staff or their own council member about something like that?
I would actually invite them to talk to us, give us a call at the Public Works counter, and we can definitely look into it. It's not something I would say no to today, but I have had other residents ask in the past, and we do have to evaluate it, ensure that it is hindering parking, and it is for most of the time. I remember one resident reached out for one elementary school when we went out there to look at the site. It was only during 15 minutes during pickup, so it wouldn't be something that we would look at.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a different situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I have one more question, Rosie. Is it a cost to the residents?
Not initially. I believe the first 2 permits are free. After that, it's $10, and it only allows them to have a permit for their cars that are registered to the address in that area.
Okay, so per household.
Yeah, and it's a maximum of $20. So let's say you have 4 cars, you would get the first 2 permits for free, and then you would pay a maximum of $20 for the additional permits you may need.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Something came to mind. There was a public comment about the fair share traffic signal improvement. And I'm just curious, at 6%, are there other contributors already? And what's the status of that potential light at that intersection of Via del Oro and Paseo Grande?
So the traffic study did do a warrant, and that light is in the county, so it's Paseo Grande at Via del Rio, and the warrant did not pass, and it's mainly due to not enough volume, and it is a residential area, so we don't think the county would entertain adding a signal in the near future. But if they did, to help alleviate the school traffic in the mornings, they would only be responsible for that 5.8% of the fair share.
Oh, so that fair share contribution is only if that were exercised?
Yes.
Otherwise, where do those funds go if they're not used for traffic signal?
Well, this is for the county, so Chris, can you help me with that? The fair share gets collected and then it's saved and set aside until.
Yeah, so if this is a county signal, the payment goes directly to Riverside County Transportation, and they are responsible for how they will spend their impact fee monies or development impact fee monies from projects. So what they're saying is that they're looking at future contributions, and maybe a signal will be needed in the future. If they have a spending limit within 5 years, they may go elsewhere with it, but it doesn't mean that they won't come back and put this signal in based on prior contributions.
Is that similar to when we had the Latitude and La Gloria? There was funds that was put aside for the county to improve their portion of La Gloria and Liberty, I believe, up at the top. And they held those funds for over a decade.
They did, and the developer actually worked separately with them to get some reimbursement on that.
I remember that.
And it's the same thing. The county has a Temescal Canyon widening project, and the developer partnered with them to pay the fair share for the remainder widening in front of their site as well.
I remember that. Thank you, Ms. Coletta. One other question regarding the permit. So in the study, to warrant whether a traffic signal would be considered by the county or processed through that, this project would contribute, obviously, to cars that might be getting on the freeway for commuting. So they'll pass in front of the school, contributing to maybe that morning pickup or maybe coming home, maybe not coming home, but definitely morning commute traffic. And if they go west to Paseo Grande and then to the freeway, that would also contribute after the project would be built, correct? If a traffic study had been done?
Yes, that's how they determined that 5.8%.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to remind the commission, this project will be paying TUMF as well, the Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee for the county region.
I remember seeing that, thank you. All right, I don't have any other. Actually, I do have some comments. So today, I think we always do our best to look at the impact to the communities when these projects come forward, whether it's driving by. I actually sat in the church parking lot today and observed 30 to 40 cars in the church parking lot, parking to go get their kids and thinking, what would those parents do? And there was a crossing guard over there by Coronita, so I went and talked to her. And she was saying, well, if that goes away, then probably they will be burdening Bern and Avenida del Vista, which is on the south side of Via del Rio. And those homes would probably be, those streets would be burdened with the cars as they park and go get the kids, which is not as crowded as Aquamarine and Beryl and Sapphire. Regarding those streets, either one of those communities, I don't think anyone has a chance of getting any parking over on Aquamarine and Beryl. They are slammed, even in the middle of the day. But would encourage the residents to pursue the permit process. I would like to see us recommend that traffic would approve those based on the impact of this project, if we agree to it. My concerns were also the fencing, Commissioner Sicklin, regarding the school and how would they, what impact that would be for a 3-story building to be butted up. I did see the 28-foot buffer for the alley to give it some buffer with the fencing, and hopefully some landscaping will give the kids some privacy. I have to mention that the city was under penalty from the state for not adopting density bonus, and to offset to take over our local control removes that. We all have spoken about how devastating that is, but basically it's private land, and it will be impacting the neighborhoods. So private land and privately owned and projects that comply with general plan and the zoning. Staff does a good job to check off all the boxes to make sure they're in compliance. So it is very frustrating to sit here with my colleagues and know that our hands are tied on some of these projects. I am in favor of affordable units. I think our community does need more affordable units to help out those with very low income, but at what cost? I am just the parking, waiving parking standards is ridiculous. I still stand opposed to that, although in this role, it has been checked off and it does meet standards. So with that, I'll ask if anyone has no other comments. Do I have a motion for HDB 2024-001?
All motion that the Planning and Housing Commission recommended the City Council that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15332 of the state CEQA guidelines and approval of AHDB 2024-001 based upon the conditions of approval.
Is there a second?
And then were we adding a recommendation about something? Is that what you were saying, or would that be?
Just that the traffic engineering would be considering permit process by the residents both on the east side, Sapphire and Aquamarine community, and also the Burn community, which will be impacted by parking.
I do want to make clear that's not a condition of approval for the applicant.
No.
That is, yeah,
No,
that's
just,
just something she
for
is
staff.
recommending that staff evaluate.
That's why I didn't include it. Just a suggestion on our part. Is there a second?
I will second Commissioner Sicklin's motion.
Okay. Commissioner Sicklin with the motion, Commissioner Woody with the second. Go ahead and vote. Okay, that passes 3-0. Moving on to our next item regarding TTM 38934. Do any commissioners have questions for staff?
I do have a question, I guess, that I think falls into the TTM application. So I noticed on the TTM and in the staff report, there's a mention of the, and it was in the presentation as well, the cell phone facilities that are there on the site currently, and they will remain on the new site plan. And from what I noticed, they're kind of on the right side of the, I guess along, trying to get my map back on my screen.
The north border of the apartment complex, to the north of it?
I think it runs along, yeah, so it would be adjacent to the Corona Park Apartments, I think. And I didn't see it in there, and maybe I just missed finding the right exhibit. But what since those are remaining, would the HOA take ownership of that? Because that would be on the property.
Sure, Commissioner Woody. So these are set in place back in 2009 and 2013. One's Monopalm, 65 feet. I believe one of them's Verizon and one of them's T-Mobile. That one other is 55 feet. But to answer your question further, these are they have separate lease agreements, and so the ownership of those poles and the ownership of the maintenance won't change. The only thing that will change as part of the tentative track map is the existing access easements. A couple are being proposed to be vacated, and then there's one that's proposed to be extended, and that's to accommodate Lot D on the now northeastern corner there for their basin. But in terms of the ownership, there should be no change there.
But I guess the lease agreement stays in place, but then the ownership of the land.
So the carrier is responsible for the maintenance. So
Right.
the carrier will still continue to maintain it, just like they did when the church was there. The church doesn't maintain it, it's the carrier, so that will not change.
But then the ownership, the church is selling the property to the applicant, who is then in turn selling it.
Right.
So would the HOA then be getting payments from Verizon?
That we're not involved in, that's a private negotiation. All we could tell you is that the carrier will continue to do the maintenance responsibility, which is what we care about.
Okay, well then, maybe the applicant can put a little more context to that.
Sure. Mr. Sickler, any? I don't. Okay. Okay, I had a question regarding the conditions of approval. Quite a bit went into the grading process. When you're on site over there at ADV and VDR, that corner there, it's at a much higher slope, and it slopes down as you go north towards the actual structure that's in place. Well, I guess, is that dirt going to remain on site, or does some of it have to be trucked out, or how does that work?
Sure. So in terms of their cut and fill numbers, it's going to be, pretty similar to the lay of the land you see out there. I understand when you probably went out there, the church height is a little bit higher than what Villa Del Rio sees. I think the biggest grade differential in the whole site is from Villa Del Rio. It's about 758 or 55, and then the building that's fronting Villa Del Rio will be about 4 feet higher. In terms of exporting and how that gets treated, I'll defer that over to Dev Services to further expand.
Thank you.
The site proposes to actually bring in fill to the area next to, around Villa Del Rio. And towards the northwest portion, it's going to remain closer to the existing elevations. And from there, the whole site is actually proposing to drain out towards the streets. So from the northwestern portion, it's all draining out to Villa Del Rio. And then towards the front of Avenida del Vista, it's draining from the northwestern down to the northeastern. What is this one also catching some of it?
I guess I don't need the details so much as what will that impact the neighborhoods as far as truckloads, what kind of fill, that sort of thing. What's that construction activity besides the actual building the structure? Did you want to, we have someone standing up.
They're proposing 3,500 cubic yards of fill, which isn't very significant.
Okay, that was a question. Thanks for volunteering and standing up. My question also was on the conditions of approval 41, where it talks about CFD and HOA. So both of those are going to be put into place for this project?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. It talked about number 42. Is there a land maintenance district set up specifically for the project? Or does it become annexed into another one, or how does that work?
The project will annex into the city's CFDs, but there will not be a city-maintained landscape area.
Okay, so that'll be all HOA for the common
Yes.
landscaping. Okay, thank you. I thought it was interesting on Exhibit 12, I don't think we've ever seen a trash staging route. So my question is, does everyone just put out their trash can out in front of their unit or outside their garage? Or how does that work?
Yes, Chair Alexander. The trash staging plan, it's a little bit unique, but the biggest concern was the fact that we have alleys here that at the ultimate is at 28 feet. And so fire wanted to confirm that even on a trash pickup day, in case of an emergency, they were able to maneuver through the site. So we did request for a trash staging plan, and they will be placing those trash cans in front of their immediate aprons.
Very thorough. Appreciated that. It talked about Exhibit 14. It talked about the yellow line for the telecom. So part of the project, the telecom is going to go underground?
That is correct. The area adjacent to Via Del Rio, that will be
VDR.
underground. The only telecom portion that will remain is heading further east and then perpendicular running across Via Del Rio into 1801 Burn.
Okay, those are all my questions that I had. So if no other questions,
I think I wanted to go back to staff because maybe I might have found an answer to my own question, and I just was seeing if staff can confirm. So I guess my question regarding the cell phone towers is if they were, like I said, if they would be taken over, ownership would going to the HOA. But it looks like, from what I can tell from the map, they would be part of Lot 1, or would they be part of Lot D? I guess that's what I can't tell.
Commissioner Woody, the cell towers will be located within Lot 1, but we also have the applicant here that can clarify what the ownership will look like and maintenance and all that stuff.
Okay, thanks.
sure, we'll go ahead and open it up, and if you can come on up, please.
Regarding the cell towers, we have been working through that process. So the original leases were with the church. Some of them are single payment covering X number of years, right, at a time. So we will be working with the cell tower owners and carriers to update the leases. It will end up being to the HOA once the community is fully sold out.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for clarifying.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close it and bring it back to the dais. All right. Ms. Sanchez, did we receive any speaker cards or written comments from the public on this item?
We did not.
All right. Well, then, with the public hearing being closed, do we have a motion for TTM 38-934?
Yes, we do. I will motion that the Planning and Housing Commission recommend to the City Council approval of tentative tract map 38-934 based on the findings contained in the staff report and the conditions of approval.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Woody. And a second, please.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Second from Mr. Sicklin. Go ahead and vote. All right, and that passes 3-0. Moving on to our last item, CUP 2024-0003. Any commissioners have questions for staff?
I do have a question. On page 2, paragraph 4, there's an interesting comment that the applicant was not seeking a density increase of the dwelling units per acre. Kind of curious, what could this be based upon the fact that that could have been a request tied to this? Could there be even more units on the same acreage?
Yes, Commissioner Sicklin. Essentially, I apologize, I don't have the exact numbers on me, but it'll follow the same framework as the concessions portion. So based off of the amount of percentage in which they dedicate towards affordable, they'll be allowed or upon request, they can include an increase in density bonus or percentage. So essentially, if it allows for 36 dwelling units per acre like this site, if they were to utilize X amount of percent at the very low income threshold, they may be entitled to X amount of percent in density bonus in terms of additional units beyond what the general plan and land use designation allows for.
Sure. So in a sense, it's a trading game of more density, more lower income units could have driven a higher ratio, and we could see X number more units on the same acreage.
Correct. And so, and what we're...
Yeah, tougher parking situation and...
But it didn't really apply here because they're already kind of at the low end of the zoning. You know, zoning allows for a lot more. So
Right.
they would have needed a totally different project, I think, to get above that, what they're allowed. Yeah.
And most of my other questions here were actually picked up on the other two applications. I'm good for now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Woody? No other questions. All right, Ms. Sanchez, did we receive any speaker cards or written comments from the public on this item?
We did, Madam Chair, from Mr. Morgan.
Thank you. Please step forward.
First, I want to thank the applicant. I don't think I've heard somebody just come up and just say the thing that they had to say and be candid the way this one did. So thank you. And it's refreshing. And I don't really think this is a bad project, all in all. I mean, like I said, it could have been another mess like Taylor. You know, it could have been another deal, you know, sort of like what happened behind the mosque, or, you know, just where kind of jamming something in there where it didn't really belong. Everybody's known. I want to say it's been 8 or 10 years that they've been talking about it, said that the church was being sold and it was going to be townhomes or apartments or something. So the fact that it's townhomes, they're going to be owned. You know, it's not completely overbuilt. 50 is not that crazy. You know, I live right by Santana, where it was 100 and something. You know, so it's a lot bigger units and pretty jammed together. So I don't see this thing being all that bad. The parking for the neighbors, I think, is the biggest thing. But, you know, like I said, I wanted to come up and acknowledge that this is way better than it could have been. So, and then again, thank the applicant for being candid. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And no one else? I'll go ahead and bring it back to the dais, close the public hearing. Do we have a motion for CUP 2024-0003?
I will offer a motion to proceed with the Planning and Housing Commission adopt the resolution number 2670 granting CUP 2024-003 based upon the findings contained in the staff report and the conditions of approval. And I don't think there's any condition changes here on this one.
There is not. May I have a second?
I've seconded it.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Sicklen, seconded by Mr. Woody. Please vote. All right, that passes 3-0. Written communications. Has the Planning and Housing Commission Secretary received any written communications from persons providing information or seeking action by the Planning and Housing Commission?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you much. Ms. Coletta, any reports?
No reports.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Raymond, for your attendance. Appreciated your input. Commissioners, any reports, any comments?
No, Chair.
Nothing? All right, with that, I'll go ahead and close the meeting. Future agenda item for September 28th to be determined later. I adjourn the meeting. Next meeting, September 8th, 2025. Thank you.